Yo, what you screaming fish here, people? And once again, I am here for another movie review, though this time around, I'm here with a different movie review. And you can even tell what I'm reviewing once again because of my t-shirt. And yes, as you can tell, I'm reviewing Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice once again, but not necessarily the original cut. This time, I'm reviewing the Ultimate Edition. Yes, this version of the movie is basically supposed to be an apology to fans who are very disappointed with the original cut, and yeah, it's basically got 30 minutes of extra footage that's basically apparently makes the story make more sense, and blah blah blah. So yes, I'm here to review this version of the movie and not the original cut. Bear in mind, before I get into this review, there are spoilers, and there are lots of them, so if you have not seen Batman v Superman yet, one, I am very surprised, and two, proceed at your own risk if you just do not care about spoilers. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So a lot of people at this point who didn't go to see the one-night-only screening of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition are going to be wondering, is this version of the movie any good? Particularly people who absolutely hated this original cut. One thing that has definitely been improved here in this version of the movie is motivations. The motivations for Superman hating Batman are much more clear in this movie, as well as Batman's motivations for hating Superman. The story goes into a lot more detail about that part of the movie, and this time around, and thankfully, I was able to get behind each of them for their own specific reasons. And speaking of Superman, he's actually more likable in this one. He's given more screen time and more development, as well as more lines of dialogue, and that's really good to see, because he only had like 43 lines of dialogue in the original cut, which is unforgivable in my opinion. I really liked seeing the added scenes of Clark Kent actually going around Gotham and actually doing some reporter work and asking people about the Batman. And that's really cool to see, because one, Clark Kent is a reporter who works at the Daily Planet, which is a newspaper company, when he's not being Superman. We also get more scenes of Superman actually saving people instead of just running away after a huge explosion, like he did in the original cut. Overall, I think this version of the movie improves on the characterization of Superman and made him a much more likable character in this movie. And yes, as you can imagine, Ben Affleck as Batman is still admittedly my favourite part of this entire movie, mainly because of his performance. The look of the suit, the voice, and so much more, not to mention there were a lot more character moments in this movie that I also enjoyed. Does anyone remember that scene in the courthouse where that guy had a bomb in his wheelchair that Superman somehow didn't see, despite the fact that he has X-ray vision? That scene makes more sense now, because it's later revealed in this version of the movie, in one of the added scenes, that the inside of the chair was made of lead, which is something that Superman can't see through, even with X-ray vision. So that makes more sense now, and Superman doesn't look like a total idiot. So, now, the story. The story in the original cut had tons of plot holes and things that didn't make sense, but the extra 30 minutes of content that's been added to the movie actually makes the story make more sense. For example, the scene set in Africa, you actually see the bad guys killing people and then burning their bodies to make it look like Superman actually did kill those people. It made that character in the movie, that hated Superman because he got her family killed during that scene in Africa. That makes more sense in this movie, because you actually see Lex Luthor's thugs have paid her or bribed her to say those things, and it makes so much more sense. It also delved more into the political side of things, which is something that was just there in the original cut and then just chucked out the window. The movie goes into more detail of that and what kind of a hero the world actually wants its heroes to be, and it actually makes that side of the story interesting because it went into more detail. There's also a scene that they added into the movie that I really liked, that showed what happens to people with the Bat brand of justice marked on them. That was a really cool to see, because it went into more detail of the consequences of Batman's actions. So yeah, this version of the movie fixed a lot of the problems that I had with the original cut, and because of that, I really enjoyed the first two-thirds of the movie. However, there are still a lot of problems that I had with the original cut that this movie didn't fix, unfortunately. Riggs, for starters, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is still awful, and still the most unbearable part of the movie. He just comes off as really over the top, and it just felt like I was watching a Looney Tunes cartoon whenever he was on screen. There were a couple of scenes that I like the red capes are coming, but the rest of the time he was just awful as a character. Lex Luthor is a smart, cunning, and evil villain who doesn't see himself as the villain. That's what made him interesting in the comics. He's not the psychotic Joker ripoff that he is in this film, which makes me wonder how this guy is even the CEO of a multinational company. And yes, I love Batman in this movie. He is by far the best part of this movie. But he kills people, and it's never really explained why. They never actually reveal or mention why he literally murders criminals, and yes, I know in some of the scenes it's debatable whether or not he killed someone, but in other scenes you can clearly see that he actually full-blown murders a guy. That happened to... What happened to that moral code about killing people that Batman had? It's never answered or explained why he actually kills people. The third act of this movie is still a mess of plot holes and things that don't make sense. Don't get me wrong, I love the Batman scene in the warehouse. That's in my opinion the best Batman action sequence of all time. But the rest of that third act is still a mess. Why does Superman go fly up and use his X-ray? Why doesn't Superman go up and fly up and use his X-ray vision to search for his mother who has been kidnapped by Lex Luthor's thugs? He can actually do that in less than an hour, particularly considering how fast he can fly in this universe. How does Lex Luthor even know Superman's secret identity? That's never explained. Why does Batman think that Wonder Woman was with Superman when he sent her an email half an hour ago? Heck, why doesn't Superman hand the kryptonite spear to Wonder Woman so she can kill Doomsday and not get himself killed? I could go on, but we'd be here for hours if I did. Is the fight between our two main heroes any better than it was in the original cut? No, it's not, unfortunately. The fight still consists of all the trailer shots and talking for a few months before going back to bashing each other around like a couple of meatheads. And this lasts for at least nine minutes. And really, I think it should have been at least the fight itself should have been at least 15 minutes long. But yes, I do like the fight. It was cool to see Batman use everything he had on Superman and then swinging him all over like a yo-yo, and Superman bulldozing Batman through a wall, but it really should have been longer. And also the build-up is still very poorly written in this version of the movie, and the fight just ends in the most anticlimactic way possible. I still find it hilarious that Batman and Superman become best buddies because their mummies have the same name. I just can't help but chuckle every time Batman has an emotional breakdown because Superman said Martha. And the funny thing is that we're actually meant to take that moment seriously. It's also worth mentioning that while the political side of the story is a lot more interesting this time around, this movie has a very severe lack of action. There is some pretty cool action sequences in this movie, but there isn't a lot of action for a movie called Batman v Superman. And still, yes, there is still very little Batman v Superman in this movie. Especially, I mean, if it was called Dawn of Justice, I can imagine people liking it a little more, but it's been marketed as Batman v Superman, yet there's so little Batman v Superman. But enough about that now. Doomsday. Doomsday still looks like a Ninja Turtle / Cave Troll / Lord of the Rings orc / CGI blob with superpowers who just feels like wasted potential. Doomsday is scary enough on his own. You don't need to give him all these crazy powers. That just makes it silly. The final fight between Doomsday is cool at times, but is overall a visual mess, mainly because some of the time there was so many things flying around that I could barely tell what was actually going on in that whole sequence, for the most part at least. But admittedly, it was cool to see Wonder Woman fight alongside Superman and Batman, and on the silver screen for the first time. And yes, I really like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. She was amazing, but she just got no development at all whatsoever, and in reality she's only in this movie for one reason: to set up the Justice League. And speaking of the Justice League cameos, I really hate the Justice League cameos. Why did we have to sit through 2 minutes of Wonder Woman checking her email and watching security camera footage of the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg? That's not how to introduce characters like the Justice League. Plus, that weird Flash cameo near the middle of the film still feels weird, and the dream sequences are still unexplained and feel pointless to the story. They just feel really pointless. I'm not sure they're never even brought up again in this movie. The only thing they did to set up Justice League that was actually kind of cool was a scene where a group of soldiers walked in on Lex Luthor communicating with what looked like to be Steppenwolf, who is actually confirmed to be the main villain of the Justice League movie coming out next year, which I am still really excited for. So, overall, is this version of the movie any better than the original cut? Yes it is. While it still has quite a few of the same problems that the original cut had, it did manage to fix a lot of the other problems and managed to make a story that didn't make sense the first time make sense. So yeah, I do like this version of the movie a lot, more than the original cut. So, guys, thank you for watching this review of the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, and I will indeed see you in the next one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Facebook. And also, what did you think of the Ultimate Edition? Do you think it's better or worse than the original cut? I personally think it's better than the original cut, and I have a feeling a lot more people are going to like this people more, even if they still hate it in the end. But yeah. So, guys, thank you for watching, and I will indeed see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.